Hi, it's Ann, and welcome back to my 30 Days of Taiko Skills. Today is day 26, and I'm talking about reading rhythms. And in particular, today I'm talking about reading Western rhythms. Um, this might be something that you've come across as well, but sometimes somebody says something to me, and I don't quite understand what that word is, or I can't quite understand the concept of what they're saying until I see it written down somewhere. And then it'll make sense to me, and then somehow it gets inputted into my brain more effectively that way. So that might be with people's names or unusual words or whatever it might be. Sometimes seeing it on paper um, helps us understand what it is and catalog it in our heads. So that's the concept today for me, um, regarding rhythms and being able to look at it, understand how it's broken down, and maybe that would help you uh, understand what that rhythm is and maybe input it into the brain more effectively. Here's a book that I got a number of years ago, and I'm not sure if it's in print anymore. It might not be available. I'm sure there are many books just like this style of book, but this one is called Sight Reading: The Rhythm Book by Alex Pertout, by Mel Bay. And so years ago, most of my students would get this book on my recommendation, and we would work through. And it starts very simply, very, very simply. Starts with whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, add some eighth notes, add eighth rest, and then an eighth note, so upbeats, and so on. It just introduces one note at a time and combines them with quarter notes typically so that we learn how to play that one type of rhythm. Nice and easy to understand, very, very user friendly in that way. Very simple. So at the end of this one section here, there's a place called Review of Lessons. And often I would use this page as a test to see if people are able to transition from one rhythm to the next. But really, it has all the uh, combinations of quarter notes, eighth notes, triplets, 16th notes, and those rests. So something like this is a great test to see if you're clear on the comprehension of these rhythms, if you're able to play them, and if you're able to remember them, and maybe understand that the material you play with your repertoire or anything you're practicing, you can probably most likely fit it into one of these rhythms just on this page. Of course, this is not a comprehensive list of all rhythms, but it's a very good start to give you a solid foundation if you're able to go straight through and play them. So, regarding uh, starting very simply, maybe eighth notes, there's really either you're going to play 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, or skip the downbeats and go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So either you're playing on all of the eighth notes, or you're skipping the downbeats and only playing the ands. If we skip the upbeats, those would not be eighth notes. They would generally, we'd think of those as quarter notes of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, pretty simple. Next one is triplets. So we have more options here. We have the regular triplet of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The next one here, we rest on the third triplet, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Next one, we rest on the first triplet note, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. On the next one, we rest in the middle triplet, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then the next one, we rest on the first and third triplet, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then the final triplet one, we rest on the first two triplets and play the third one only. 1 and da, 2 and da, 3 and da, 4 and da. So these we can go right down the line. We can try different stickings, but making sure you're able to tap your foot, count out loud, make sure your tempo is correct and consistent with a metronome. You could use a drum machine to make sure your subdivisions are accurate, and so on. After that is the 16th note section. So now that there's 4 16th notes per beat, the combinations of notes and rests increase quite a bit. So the first one, of course, is regular 16th notes. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Next one is resting on the fourth one. So only playing the first 3. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Next one rests on the first one and plays the 2, 3, 4 of the 16 notes. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Next one rests only on E, or the second 16th note. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Next one rests on the and, or the third 16th note. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Next one rests on the third and fourth and plays on the 1 and 2. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Next one rests on the first and fourth, plays on second and third. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Next one rests on the first 2, plays on the last 2. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Next one plays on the first and fourth, rests on the second and third. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Next one only plays on the second and fourth and rests on the first and third. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Next one only plays on the second, rests on the first, third, and fourth. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. And then the final one plays on the fourth, rests on 1, 2, 3. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Okay, so this is a good sampling of variations on 16th notes and rests. And just now I was demonstrating what you might consider a right-hand lead method, meaning anything that's 1 or and was on the right hand, anything that was in the E or A was on the left hand. We could also reverse everything and do everything left-handed. So 1 and would be left, E and A would be right. We can also do an alternating method. So there's no doubling. Every time you play the next note, it's the next hand. You could come up with all different types of stickings to see if you're able to play those, and that would keep you busy for a little while. And then the idea, once you're very comfortably able to play this at various tempos with a metronome, counting out loud, tapping your foot, then the idea is to start to combine them in different orders. So you could write your own different combination of rhythms. You could pick up a book like this and do some reading and see if you're able to transition from rhythm to rhythm. And I think the goal of this is to, number one, just like with some kind of word that you don't quite comprehend, it's being able to make that connection between music that we hear and understanding how does that fit into this grid of a measure that's divided up into either eighth notes, triplets, or 16th notes. So how does that, what you're hearing, how does that line up onto the grid? What would it look like, and how would we count it out loud? And then once we understand it, does it sound like how it's supposed to sound? And if it does, maybe we're able to catalog it and be able to memorize it more quickly because we have a full understanding of what it's supposed to be. So it's trying to get a crystal clear picture of the music. And of course, Western notation is not the only way we can do this. There's lots of different other ways that exist out there, or you could come up with your own system, anything to help you understand how it's supposed to be. The one of the biggest reasons why you might use Western notation is the sheer amount of material out there that you can use to practice. It's as close to a universal language in music as we have, I think. And that makes it so that if you're comfortable reading Western notation rhythms, you can pick up any number of books from anywhere and practice reading rhythms, like something out of this book, or try etudes that are written, or transcriptions of people soloing, or all kinds of things. There's a lot of things that are available to you if you are familiar with reading this. It's familiar with his language and reading the reading of it. So, not to say it's the only way, but just because there's so much out there, I think it's makes a lot of sense to do that. And sometimes it's for me, it's very useful to use as a collaborative tool. So even if I'm fully comfortable with, for example, traditional Edobayashi notation, which is in Japanese and written on a vertical system, and that works really well, but it may not transfer at all to anybody else outside of that genre. So if I want to collaborate with somebody else, that system might not work very well. So just as a musician who works with other people quite a bit, Western notation has been pretty much indispensable for me. Also in my self-study, having all these materials to read and go through. So anyway, it's a little bit about reading rhythms. I think it can help you if you're not too familiar. Spending some time studying this, I think, can be quite helpful. So you can let me know if you have any questions, but otherwise, I will see you on the next one.